Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 16, Christmas Eve slate, 9 games on DraftKings that we're going to try and take a look at. I'm going to bring in my chat that's over here on Twitch. We're going to answer questions for as long as my voice will hold up. As you guys have probably been able to tell by the videos, I've had this cough that I've been fighting for 3, almost 4 weeks now. Usually this video is 45 minutes to an hour. We'll see how long my voice holds up. I'll take as many questions as I can regarding cash games, tournaments, bankroll management, anything else that they want to talk about. I'm here to talk about it. Hopefully that helps you not just make lineups for this weekend, but also to make you a better player overall, because this long form video is one of my favorites, and I think one of the most important ones every week, because we can really dive into all of the minutia of the slate and DFS in general. If you wanted access to my weekly cheat sheet, which by the time you're watching this on YouTube will be out in our Discord, go to smizzle.tv/Discord. You can become a server subscriber right there for $5 a month and get access to all the VIP rooms where you can try to get better every day with all of the members of our community, almost 11,000 people in our Discord currently, and get access to the weekly cheat sheet. If you want to become a channel member here on YouTube, smizzle.tv/join. You then would have to link all the things. Like, it's a little bit easier to just sub directly in Discord, but you get the same perms if you're a channel member here on YouTube as well. Go to smizzle.tv/join. But thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 16 Smiz Gang Listener League, it is posted. It is $10. It is $3 max per person, but it does not exist in the DraftKings lobby. It does not have any rake, which is why. You got to go to smizzle.tv/links if you wanted to find the way to get into the Smiz Gang Listener League. It's right there in our link tree, as well as everything else. The Discord, the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel, every social site. In fact, while you're there clicking into the Listener League, click all the other buttons too. It costs you absolutely no dollars. I will shout out the top 10 finishers on the weekly recap video. Comes out every single Monday on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. So make sure that you're in that top 10. Get your shout out every single Monday. Let's bring in the chat, see what questions they have. Is 2 tight end in for cash? So, pardon my cough. It's a shorter slate, okay? We really only have 9 games. So it's going to be thinner than usual. Typically, we're used to 11 and 12 game slates throughout bye weeks and everything else. That's just the way that everything goes. But like, we're really, really short. We're really short on plays this week because there's just less players. So especially with some of these totals and where they're at, the highest totaled game is Dallas and Miami. And like, the prices are exorbitant. Mostert at 7,300, 100 less than the highest priced running back in the slate. Achan over 7,000 as well. Pollard at 6,700. Both defenses really solid. The 2 best wide receivers, 9,600, 9,200. There's some value here that you could go after to try and attack this through Cooks, through somebody like Fergie. But like, it's a tough game to get at. And so utilizing that $4,000 to $5,500 tight end, let's say, guys like McBride, Ingram, and Njoku, Ferguson, as opposed to the wide receivers in that range. Drake London, very up and down. Romeo Dobbs, very up and down. I like Reed, but like, Carolina's been not a tough defense, but everybody just runs against them because of the way that things go. London has more upside, in my opinion, with the quarterback situation. They have Curtis Samuel. The Jets defense is built to stop outside wide receivers. And the Jets defense is like ridiculously cheap this week for whatever reason. Remember, like all year they've priced up whoever's playing the Giants and whoever's playing Washington at like 38, 4,000, like somewhere in that range. This week, the Jets defense, you know, a really good defense that gets after everybody and gets a ton of sacks and a ton of pressure and doesn't allow a lot of passing yards, like playing against a team that's going to drop back a metric ton. They're only 3,100, so I think that everybody's going to be on them. So the long way of me saying, yeah, I think that it's very possible to play 2 tight end and or a tight end in flex or 2 tight ends overall, because partly there's not very much value. All the value plays at wide receiver, with the exception of maybe Dontavian Wicks, with or without Jaden Reed. If Jaden Reed is out, he didn't practice on Thursday. If Jaden Reed is out, all of a sudden Dontavian Wicks becomes like the absolute chalk at 4,300, because there's just not, it's very thin down here. It's very, very, very thin. The Lions finally tried to get Jamison Williams involved last week. He finally caught more than 2 balls. Good for you. Way to catch more than 2 footballs in a game. It's also extremely hard to have 4 catches on 7 targets on DraftKings and still score less than double digits points, but That's more of a Jameson Williams problem than a me problem. Thoughts on Ridley or DJ Moore for cash? I prefer DJ Moore personally. That has nothing to do with my brand being inexplicably attached to Justin Fields. Brian Robinson Jr. is out. So let's take a look. So we record this on Friday mornings all the time. And so like you end up getting news that comes out during the show. Let's go over to Underdog NFL. This is Underdog _ NFL. They have like a news breaking. It's an aggregator. So like out for week 16, Marquise Brown out for week 16. That's going to open up routes for all the other cheaper guys in Arizona. If you wanted to go having a bring back for the obvious Justin Fields stack, Zay Jones probably not going to play. Simeon to start for the Jets. Zach Wilson ruled out. Trevor Lawrence will practice Friday. So everything that I'm going to say about Jacksonville on this stream is going to be couched with the fact that I am projecting as though Trevor Lawrence will play. If Trevor Lawrence is out, you don't have to be cosplay Adam Schefter down in the replies and say, hey, Trevor Lawrence is out. You need to set up if-then statements. If Lawrence plays, these are the routes we're going, and that's what we're going to talk about on today's video. All my answers are going to be couched around that. But also, if he's out, then everything changes for those. Like, I don't think that Beathard is anywhere close to what Trevor Lawrence is or that offense can be. Is Sunday another Justin Fields cash game slate against Arizona's 31st ranked rush defense? I think he's the optimal cash game quarterback. There's just not a lot out there. Like I said, it's a nine game slate, guys. You know? So one, there isn't all that much to talk about. Two, but if we go team by team, Minshew, Heineke, Green Bay, Love, Bryce Young. Love against Carolina. Young has been bad. You know, that team is not set up for him to succeed. Stroud, not going to play this weekend, probably, from everything that we hear, which means that we've got Flacco and Keenum. Flacco at 5,500, he's done nothing but good things since named the starter for the last 3 games. Now, yeah, from an NFL perspective, he turns the ball over a lot. You know, that's just, you're going to get that. That's why he was on a couch a month ago. But like, from a fantasy perspective, he's going to throw the ball to the exact guys that you want him to throw the ball to. He's going to throw the ball to Njoku. He's going to throw the ball to Cooper. He's going to sprinkle in more. He's going to throw the ball to his best receivers who are open. And you have to accept that there's going to be turnovers, right? He's lost, 6 in 3 games? Like, that's going to be a thing. So, like, you can attack him with a defense. I do like dome games this time of year. Just better weather, no chance of wind, rain, soggy field, whatever. But he's 5,500. Like, you could play him. Detroit against Minnesota. We get road golf against Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins with going against a defense that has been very, very giving. Nick Mullins, the new pizza guy. All he has to do is deliver the pizza. That's it. Deliver the pizza to JJ Hawkinson, JJ, TJ, and Jordan Addison. Great talent around the outside. And Ty Chandler. Road golf. He's 6,900. I probably am not going to play golf over Justin Fields in that spot. This is a no. Geno or Tannehill, because Levis is supposed to be out. Didn't practice. I'm assuming that he's not going to play, which means that Tannehill now becomes maybe a step up in efficiency for the pass catchers, but not as much downfield threat. I think they have to throw to win, as the big dog does look somewhat cooked. Lawrence is injured with that concussion. Baker Mayfield, both of these are pass funnels. This game could get sneaky fast in terms of plays because of how much they're both going to be forced to throw the football. You're not going to pay up for these guys in cash, which basically I think leaves Fields as the obvious cash game quarterback. That's the long answer, but like, he's the obvious cash game quarterback this week, and you can make it work. It doesn't feel like a stars or scrubs week. It doesn't feel like a stars or scrubs week, like, at all. It feels like a week where you're going to play a lot of mid-range stuff. Yeah, it's a very balanced week where you're going to be playing a lot of players between 5,000 and 7,000 in a lot of your lineups. Did Detroit double JJ last year? I mean, JJ gets doubled every play. You never, there's always a safety over the top. No team gives any wide receiver the Megatron treatment where they just assign 2 cornerbacks to him to jam him with 2 guys like he's a punt return gunner. That CJ was the only guy that got that sort of treatment, and only inside the 10 and goal to go situations. So nobody does that, but they roll coverage to his side of the field no matter where he's at. That's how teams do it. But then to counter that, we've seen offensive coordinators, smart ones, use motion to unlock those players. Steve, thank you for the 55 months. Feels like everybody in the country is sick this week. Yeah, I was talking about that before we started recording, about how Google Trends used to be America's true serum or the world's true serum, and now it's TikTok. And last night I was kind of scrolling through TikTok a little bit, and I got like 10 videos of people that are dealing with the same non-productive, annoying cough that I've had for the last three and a half weeks. So apparently that's the thing. And it's not COVID, and it's not the flu, and it's not all these other, like, everybody knows. Everybody's got it in every city all across the United States. This is it, isn't it? This is the cordyceps. We're all gonna die. There's gonna be a zombie apocalypse like New Year's Eve, isn't there? You have body chills and the whole deal. Okay, so that's different. My wife and kid are sick with that. They had a fever, they're coughing, they're sneezing, they've got stuffy head, all that sort of thing. That's different. I was not sick. Like, my kid got sick a month ago, and then, yeah, that's the flu. That's different. This thing, this chestal region thing that I'm dealing with, and apparently millions of other people across America are dealing with, is just this nagging cough that does not produce anything. It's not that cough that like makes your sternum hurt when you cough. That's the worst cough. When you cough and you know it's going to be painful. This is just annoying. This is just, you speak or you breathe and your lungs are like, hey, cough. That sucks. That's what I'm dealing with. And that's why my videos have been less so. It's why I've been recording offline, so that producer Rosie can cut out all the coughing from all the videos. That's my cough analysis for the week. For those of you, did I have COVID? No. Sounds like long COVID. I mean, you think everybody in the United States is experiencing long COVID for the last 3 weeks all at the same time? Probably not. It's a pneumonia cough? Maybe. The prevailing theory is that it's pertussis, which is whooping cough. But who knows if that's what it is? I had a Z-Pack. Can we just talk about football? I don't need to talk about my cough. Y'all don't want to hear that. Long COVID is different. And like, everybody in America is not suffering from long COVID for the last 3 weeks. That's a cough. That's a different thing. Chat is now gonna God damn it, chat. Short video. Yeah, the point was it's gonna be a shorter video because I don't want to keep coughing and all the time. How much rain did we get? It rained a lot the last 48 hours here in Los Angeles. Let's just talk about food. Yeah, let's just talk about fun stuff. How many did you guys get through on Underdog and DraftKings for best ball? I'll get to your question in a minute, B. Hoffman. Did you guys get anything through? I got nothing through on Underdog. And like, before somebody else, because like the frat boys, you know, like all the frat boyish content creators are defaulting to, if you're saying that like Underdog can do things differently, then you just don't understand, and you're probably doing it because it would affect your bag. My teams were not going to get through no matter what happened. I don't care what scoring system you used, pods, you know, or this or that or the other thing, pods or cut line or this, like my teams, it does not affect my bags whatsoever. I got 4 teams through on DraftKings out of like my 7 that made it. So really overperforming on DraftKings. And 2 of them are very set up for week 17 if I can get through this week. But I wasn't going to advance on Underdog. It was not in the cards from the teams that I had, because my CMC teams did not make it through. And like, I think I came in 2nd in 1. So like, it wouldn't have affected me at all, the pods. But like, how dare anybody suggest that a company that you've invested in, me, Underdog, might be able to do something differently that would produce a better user experience moving forward. Oh, it's just because you think that your line of sight. Anybody complain. I'm not complaining. It's a suggestion to make the flagship tournament on this site that I've invested in be a better user experience for people. Silly. Just hear it. And if they don't take the suggestion, then they don't take the suggestion. But like, it's not because my bags. Purdy the only QB left on both your teams. That's a good QB to have. Are Houston wide receivers worth playing over Singletary? I don't think anybody from that game is going to be chalk. Like, I don't think there's a worth option there. I think that like worth option would be, I believe that everybody's going to be playing Ty Chandler. Let's get to the cash game core from chat. Chat's cash game core. Play the music. Like, we got intro music for this part of the segment and everything. Chat's cash game core. Chat's cash game QB, Justin Fields, based on the votes that filed through. Chat on the same page as me, and they haven't seen the cheat sheet yet, so they don't know who's in and who's out. But they're going with the rushing upside, the matchup, everything else, dealing with this game, Justin Fields having easy pickings with the Arizona defense that has been really bad this year and very giving. At running back, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options that they could be attacking through here. I think most of them, like, I think there's no problem with going like a Rachaad White in cash. He gets enough usage. I know he's only gotten 4 targets the last 2 weeks, but like an ample volume in the passing game to give him this really high floor, averaging 16.7 per game. This is a pass funnel sort of game. I think that people are going to go away from that because there's cheaper plays. If you wanted to go after, like, if you can stomach playing Bijan Robinson, with the change in quarterback, and maybe they have to, like, the fact that he got benched for a fumble last week, you're an idiot. I can't believe they did that. That's some archaic, hardo, whatever, high T coaching. It's dumb. Breece Hall, like him, 6,100. Chat, I think, chose the correct option, which is Ty Chandler. 27 opportunities last week. Really good in the passing game. Always has been. Finally getting an opportunity. 5,600 is a high floor ceiling option against a Detroit team that has not been good defensively. At wide receiver, I think that there are routes that you could go in cash. My thoughts are they're going to be in the cheat sheet. Chat chose DJ Moore, who I think is more than fine. No pun intended. 6,900. There are definitely cheaper options that you could go with. DJ Moore's games with Justin Field at quarterback have been tremendous. The fact that he only walked away with 9.2 points last week was a travesty. After 3 straight games of over 20 points, I still think that he is far too cheap for the volume that is incoming and the matchup that they are facing. Cleveland, also a very tough team in terms of EPA per play against, specifically for passing games. And Chat has chosen David Njoku, who is leading the league in terms of yards after the catch for tight ends. The resurgence from him since Joe Flacco became the quarterback, with 91 yards and 104 yards the last 2 games, last week against Chicago. Now they get Houston. Good weather game there. This is Chat's cash game core. Chat's cash game core. I think this is where they're going with everything. And you can make it happen. Kind of like I said, it's going to look like a very balanced week this week. I don't think it's Starsy Scrubsy yet, but things can always change at this time of year because of how many injuries there are. And then those injuries open up, they vacate snaps. They open up the amount of routes that they can. Like I said, on Green Bay specifically, if Watson is out, and they are a very conservative medical room in Green Bay, like if you have an ingrown toenail, you're going to be out for half the season. Like if you sprain an eyebrow, they're not putting you back out there. So Christian Watson may or may not play. They also, Jaden Reed didn't practice Thursday. He's got a toe and a chest. So if he doesn't play, and he's been a revelation late in the season, and I think is going to be a cash game caliber play if he plays in this game. But if he does not, and Watson does not, then Dontavian Wicks steps into a ridiculously high volume role at only 4,300 and probably the best play sub 4,500 in his percent. He'll get steamed, as the kids say. That's kind of where that's going to go. Is Aaron Jones okay to play against the Panthers in a GPP? Most definitely. Rachaad White against a team that allows no passes to running backs. I don't think that it's allows. There's a difference between allows or funnels, or they're just really attackable. They're just really attackable on the outside. So teams just tend to attack them on the outside. Season-long playoffs, which 2 would I prefer? I would play the 2. I talked about this earlier. I would play the 2 that project for more points. I know that sounds basic, and I know that comes off as, flippant, but it's not. Like, I would literally just say you have a limited number of players that you have access to, right? With your team in your friends and family league. So I would play the guys who project for the most points, which would mean of those 3, probably Bijan Robinson projects for the most points. If you can't stomach playing Bijan Robinson, you have him on your team. You have the absolute best situation. You have Bijan Robinson in the playoffs with this ridiculous matchups. He'd have to be the first one. And then of those 3, Breece Hall's the second one. Montgomery is projecting for like less points than those 2 by like a full 1.5. I'd play the first 2. How do I feel about Kelsey? Like, as a human? Did my best ball teams have players from last night? Yeah, I've got Kyron. I don't think any of my Puka teams got through of the 4 that I have on DraftKings. Do I give my blessing on a skinny stack of Flacco and Njoku skinny for GPP? I mean, it's a 9-game slate. People can kind of do what they want. The rules kind of go out the window a little bit, but like also on a shorter slate, if a quarterback goes off, and off means 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, right? And thinking about how does Flacco go off, right? You have to figure out the story of what happens instead of just trying to like, well, could I just do this? How does Flacco end up as the tournament winning quarterback, right? So if Flacco ends up as the tournament winning quarterback, he's going to throw the ball an awful lot, which means he's completing 26 passes, 28 passes, 23 passes. He's completing multiple touchdowns, 2, 3, or 4. He's not running for nothing. So all of his production is going to come through the passing game. And if all of his production comes through the passing game, he's going to be a benefit. Remember, they threw 44 passes last week. 14 of them went there. That's 30 more targets. Where are those targets going to go? 8 of them went here. 14 of them went there the previous week. So like, especially for a pocket passer, a guy who's going to have to throw the ball a lot, then that's going to be where it goes. 2 tight ends seems like a lock this week. I don't think anything is a lock. Many targets. See, Jim knows football. Jim knows ball. Double tight end. Yeah, like I said, double tight end is fine. It's a shorter slate. So like, rules can be broken. The shorter the slate gets, the more you can break rules. The larger a slate, 12, 13, 14 game slates, now like there's so many plays that it's different. How do you attack playing Dallas Miami? I think that the best way to attack Dallas Miami is through secondary stacks. I don't think that you can go stars and scrubs this week, at least from where we sit at 10 a.m. on the West Coast today. I don't on Friday. I don't think it's possible. I really don't. And the reason that I don't think that it's possible is because there's not enough value. It's going to be so thin, you know? It's going to be so absolutely thin. What about on the East Coast? I don't know. It's probably like Monday over there. Merry Christmas to the East Coast. I don't even know what time it is. Y'all are in like a time warp. Hubbard at 5,700 for GPP. Yeah. Good volume for him. If they can be a little bit efficient, if he can sneak into the end zone, nothing is going to be sticky, right? That has variance, and nor should it be considered to be sticky. So like, yeah, I think it's Boxing Day on the East Coast right now. So box up all your gifts, take them back to the store, and then get into a boxing match with the guy behind the counter. So I think secondary stacks are the way to go. I think you can stack through Dak. I'm not sure that you can stack through Tua. I don't think Tua is a stackable play this week. I think the best route to that game is to double stack bring back or skinny stack bring back with a super cheap stack and hope that it gets there a little bit, and then play like either a single secondary stack or a 2-1 secondary stack around a cheap primary stack. I think that's the way that you can easiest or get your easiest exposure to that game, and then play 1 or 2 one-offs that are super cheap. Nomadic, thank you for the 11 months. Appreciate that. Let's go over and take a look at what the solver thinks. Should we do that? You guys like the solver? I go over and I build like a whole bunch of lineups with a whole lot of different quarterbacks, running backs, everything else, right? Just different single stacks, double stacks. I'll involve the quarterback and everything else with the running back in some of those stacks as it makes the most sense. You can sort them by whatever. If you do not have an account over at the Solver, go to smizzle.tv/solver. They have this great lineup builder as well as their simulations tool. I've already run the sims on these. You come over here, you click simulate on the lineups that you save or that you just optimize. You can simulate for any of these different fields that they have. So let's go to the slant. Let's run that sim. It's going to take a couple minutes, but I've already done it for you. It's like a baking show where they just take the cookies out of the oven. Here's the cookies out of the oven. It really likes Justin Fields, and so do I. Apparently Justin Fields is my brand. This Justin Fields lineup that it says it's run this slate 10,000 times, and based on the way that the percentages break out, has this lineup finishing in the top 1% 3.5% of the time. Now these will change as they change the field over the weekend, so don't expect the sim ROI this high. As far as smaller field stuff, single entry still likes field, but obviously the ROI gets lower because it's not as top heavy. Kind of likes Baker Mayfield in smaller field. And then here's this one little Dak Prescott one that popped up. One little Dak Prescott lineup. The ceiling on this Mayfield lineup is ridiculous. But go check out all the great products that they have over at the Solver, smizzle.tv/solver. Solver. Shout out Dave Chappelle. Yeah, it's a lot of Ty Chandler going against the number 1 run defense. Okay, so DVP needs to be taken with context. So winning teams like the Lions, right? The Lions have a drastically winning record, right? They've won a lot more games than they've lost this season. And with them winning all the games that they've won, that assumes that they've been playing from ahead a large percentage of the time in the second half of games. They're not all last minute comeback wins out from under the, snatching victory out from the jaws of defeat. So if you're winning in the second half, teams are abandoning the run. They're not having as many rush attempts against you. They're having to throw the football a lot more, which is why the DVP against the Lions, and the Lions have not been good on defense. They have not been a good defense recently. For the last little bit, they've been a very gettable defense for us to attack. They have a good defensive line, good pass rush, they get sacks, everything else. But they've been playing from ahead a lot, more so than most teams. And some of those games, like against Green Bay 34-20, Carolina 42-24, Tampa Bay 20-6. Tampa Bay also not a very efficient team at running the football. Las Vegas, they won 26-14. The Chargers became a shootout game. Not a lot of rush attempts for opposing teams against them. And as a result, you allow less rushes, you're going to allow less rushing yards, which from a defense versus position standpoint says, oh, they're very good against running backs. But on a per play basis, they haven't been. They do not mute EPA per play, efficiency per play against the run. They just mute volume. So against Denver, 42-17, of course they're not going to run the ball a whole lot. But look at the other games over the last month prior to that. 142 rushing yards against, 113 rushing yards against New Orleans in a game that they won. Green Bay, 109 rushing yards against. Chicago, 183. These games that they win, you see a lot of, teams have to abandon. But then the games that they lose or that are close, their EPA per play has not been great against the run. And sometimes that little red number next to players keeps percentages down as casual players on DraftKings see a red number and do not play that player. Same reason, or injuries can do the same thing. Same reason Dallas's run D is good on paper. We saw what happened last week. Yes, when you play from ahead, teams have to abandon the run. They have to throw more. Fields and more in cash. I think that that's going to be quite popular, and in tournaments. With T. McBee bringbacks are going to be very, very popular. And rightfully so. They should be popular. Is R. White the only running back worth the money playing for playing GPPs? We've had this discussion before. Allie, thank you very much for the 67 months. That's a lot. You have to think differently when it comes to GPP. There is no such thing as worth or trust when it comes to playing tournaments. It's not really a thing. Your thoughts should be about ceiling and nothing else. What are the probabilities that this player reaches this point total or higher that I need? What are their opportunities of getting me 24 plus DraftKings points? And how much is the field projected to play that player? And what is the delta between the two? Which is kind of what Sims do, right? We've been doing this for years. Sims just calculate that way more efficiently and quickly than we could possibly do that. So what you're looking to do is find that player or players who will get those sorts of ceilings, get those sorts of probabilities, put yourself in a position to attack more, and combinations to attack more where the field is ignoring them, but they have ceiling opportunities, be it because of price or some fake red number or whatever else. So when it comes to cash games, worth matters, trust matters, volume matters. A player like Rachaad White, who's averaging 16.7 points, and looking at that includes like the entire season where he had these, up and down games early in the year. His points per game, since week 7 against Atlanta is much higher than this 16.7. You're talking about like an 18, 19 points per game for 7,400, which makes him much more viable for cash games than he's been the easy plug and play in cash games because of his ridiculous volume on this team. But for tournaments, I don't care if he 3X's this salary. I don't care about floor. All I care about, and all you should care about, is that next level thinking of what is the field doing? How often is this player going to get to a ceiling game that I need or greater? And then can we get there? Which is kind of what we talked about on the showdown video. If you watch that one for the Rams, where I said Puka Nacua has not gotten under 20% of the target market share for the Rams in any game this year. The touchdowns just haven't fallen his way since early when Kupp was out. But what if he was to be the guy who has a spike week? If he was on this main slate, he would not have been heavily held. We know that. That's the type of player that you're looking to take advantage of. Now, can Rachaad White have a multiple touchdown game here? Most certainly. He's got big playability. He's going to get the short yardage. And more importantly, he's going to get a lot of volume. But it's going to depend on what his percentage is going to be. And taking a look at what all the running backs have been, so many running backs fall between like 14 and 25%. I don't think there's going to be anybody that runs away with the percentage this week. So like you could play him, but running back isn't really, or hasn't been this season, the differentiator position, because DraftKings has changed their pricing this year to limit people like us who want to attack through double stacking and correlating and everything. They've made the secondary wide receivers so pricey that we can't really get there for that. Paying for Laporta or Hawkinson contrarian this week? Yes, paying up to be contrarian at tight end is 100% going to be a thing this week, especially because most people don't want to play double tight end. There's just not a lot out there on the slate because it is a shorter slate. So yes, I will probably open up to double tight end, but I'm probably also going to make some rules so it's not everything that I do. Usually a higher price results in lower ownership. It could, but I think that this is a balanced week. There is no higher priced running back right now. 7,400 is the highest priced running back. That's not high. That's not a large number for running back. It's, it just isn't. Like right now, his projection is over 20% on every site. So it's not like Rachaad White's not going to be held. And like looking at the ownership percentages for these running backs, okay? Here's the top 10 running backs by ownership percentage, not having to do with names. 26%, 22.8%, 22%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 17%, 17%, 14.8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's 9. Now, you want to hear the names of the players that are outside of that 9? Like, if you're trying to get different at running back, you're looking at Jerome Ford, Aaron Jones, Ken Walker III, Tyjae Spears, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, James Conner, Devon Achane. It's the same talk we had earlier in the season. Like, you don't have to get all that different at running back. You don't have to get cute. There's some weeks that we could, but like there's only 18 RB1s on this slate. There's only 18 RB1s on this slate, and of those, 9 of them are projecting at 15% or higher. So running back, as always in 2023, the consolidation of ownership is very, very real. So you don't have to get different at running back. You get different at wide receiver. You get different at tight end. You get different by correlating and getting different combinations of players than other people have. Because running back, they're just not priced out of the realm. It's a very narrow band of pricing, specifically this week. Every week it's narrow, with like CMC being 1,000 higher than everybody else, but there's no Eckler anymore. He's not even a thing anymore. There's no Alvin Kamara on the slate. He's not available. There's no CMC on the slate. Whatever. Chances Henry goes off. I don't know. You're asking me to guess at that point. As much as I've enjoyed playing Derrick Henry over the years, Derrick Henry on DraftKings specifically, right? Over the years, because he never really, Kevin's right. It's 50-50. He either is going to go off or he's not. But you want the probability of whether he's going to go off? As much as I've enjoyed playing him over the years, and as much of a beast as he has been in the past, apologies for my cough, he just doesn't feel like he's that guy anymore. That version of Derrick Henry feels like he's gone, unfortunately. 16 carries and 4 targets. 20 opportunities. He went for 9 yards on the ground and 1 yard through the air. 17 carries against Miami, 2 yards a carry. Indy, everybody blows up Indy. At least he blew up Indy, right? But like, this guy has been a force of nature for the last decade. 3.8 yards per carry. The upside's just not there anymore. The only times that he goes off is when he has multiple touchdowns, essentially. 12 points from touchdowns, he had 8 points from volume. 12 points from touchdowns, he had 16 points from volume. That's pretty solid. 2 touchdowns here, 18 points, 6. Is Treylon Burks the alpha in Tennessee? What? No. I don't know if that's a serious question. He still exists. He's still a thing. Did you miss value wide receivers? No, there aren't any yet. There's a lot of guys who are cheap and they're all super thin. Burks also one of them, being thin. Traylon Burks, 3 targets a game, essentially. You know, like he could do things. Parker Washington, thin. They're all thin. Parker Washington could get forced into more this week because of Zay Jones being out. Calvin Ridley, Washington, I kind of like Agnew. I think Agnew's a better football player. They're all thin. Ridley's going to get a ton of looks. Ingram's going to get a ton of looks. And they're all dependent on the other guy. Rashee Rice or DJ Moore. Rashee Rice is not on this slate. If Reed is out, Heath at 3,200 is a cheap value receiver for Green Bay. So like I said, like I was saying, injuries will open up a lot at this time of year. Injuries will open up value, but I cannot tell who is in or who is out. Set up your if-then statements. Is Wilson thin with no Hollywood? Wilson's thin because Wilson can't separate. Wilson can't get loose. Which Cardinal gets the biggest bump with Washington out? I think it's Dortch. I could be wrong, but I do think that it's Greg Dortch. I think that there's 3 guys that are gonna run routes. Dortch, Wilson, Moore. Maybe Zach Pascal runs around a little bit too, but like he's not good, right? I think that anytime Dortch is out on the field running routes, he is somebody who can actually get separation. They're gonna play a lot of 3 wide, but really what it does is T. McBee is gonna get his 10 targets. He's gonna get 9 or 10 targets this week, just like every week, and he's 5,700. Kyler has eyes for T. McBee, and who wouldn't? Honestly, he's open all the time, and like aside from Wilson, who is the only big wide receiver that they have over 6 feet, everybody else is a member of the Lollipop Guild. Like, as much as I think Dortch is good at getting open, and we've seen him gather large target games, like against the Rams and against Houston, and then last year when everybody was out, just because he can get open where these other guys can't. So like, aside from T. McBee, who I think is like the main guy that we want to attack there, if I was going to go with one of the other receivers, it would probably be Dortch. But again, super duper thin. See, I love Jim's bit at this point. Jim, this is a whole bit from Jim. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the Jim bit of just shouting out 14 targets. He didn't even say for who. He was like, yep, 14 targets. Hype. Oh, goodness. Guys, I think that's going to do it for this week. But if you want to check out another video, make sure that you check out our top stacks video, which is right here and can help you identify the top 5 stacks that I think you should be targeting in tournaments this week. Best of luck. Merry Christmas. See you guys later.